Fabregas slides it through, and Andres Iniesta blasts it beyond Martin Steckel.
Wewe tunaweza kukaa kimya. Mbona unanichukia?
Na kuchukia kwa sababu nikuchukie ni sababu ya kukuchukia.
Pia ndio uko nazo.
Tumekaa na wewe.
What's wrong with you? Ama nikunitaka unanitaka na
mzee. Excuse me.
Ndio mwajiri wako. Alafu mheshimiwa ponye ukweli. Hata chai ya maziwa huwezi kunywa. Sasa mimi nimekosea wapi? Mimi nimesoma, ni kazi nimekosa, nikaenda kufanya kazi ya nyumba. Alafu nafungiwa, hata unaweza fanya nini?
Makosa kubwa ulifanya ni kucollaborate na huyu unaenda kukojolea sakura ya wenyewe.
Mbona?
Niso mlikuwa mmekosa ndio mkojolea sakura ya watu.
Sikia, katika CCTV camera ili kuona ukiweka haja ndogo kwa jag ukajaza mbili zikatoa mosi.
Na wewe umeshawahi onja?
Hapana.
Very good. Sasa wewe ni nini nimekuleta hapa na nini nakusumbua kukuja hapa?
The legends and familiar charms will grace KBC once again. Don't
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to KBC Lunchtime News on the 13th of October, the year 2022. We are live here at the Broadcasting House at the heart of Nairobi City, but we are also live on Facebook, on YouTube and on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. I am Nissie Imano. Anne Wangeshi is our sign language interpreter this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. All right, we begin in Isiolo, where Isiolo County Administration has suspended development projects to focus on the drought situation in the county that has left at least 30,000 households in dire need of food aid. Isiolo Governor Ibrahim Guyo, who met the county steering group, noted that the move is meant to cushion people and livestock from succumbing to the prolonged drought.
Hours after flagging off a consignment of relief food to different wards in Isiolo County, Governor Ibrahim Guyo has suspended all development projects.
Ili hiyo vitu iweze kusikika, kuwa feel na wananchi, lazima development partner, serikali ya county ikuje pamoja, iweke pesa pamoja, tukubaliane serikali kuu italeta nini, development partner wataka nini kwa meza, na county government wataka nini kwa meza, ndio ili tuhakikishe wananchi wetu hawakufi na nini na janga ila nini makali ya nini ya njaa.
Guyo, who spoke after meeting the county steering group, said dealing with the drought situation is now the priority.
Mwisho wa hii wiki tutahakikisha pia tumefikia wale wafanya wamebakia, na sisi kama serikali ya county tumeweka priority yetu kwa mambo ya nini ya janga ila njaa, tuhakikishe wananchi wetu na mifugo wetu hawakufi kwa sababu ya nini ya kutopata chakula.
In Kitui County, residents of Kasteni area Nguni ward in Mwingi Central are appealing to the county government to come to their aid after a dam, which is their only source of water, dried up.
Kilomita 15 kwenda kuruti ni masaa 8, na ukiingia kwa nyumba unakuta watoto bado kwenda shule
Tumeacha watoto bila chakula, bila maji. Na ukiangalia hiyo area, watoto wengi wamekosa shule kwa sababu ya njaa na maji.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Zainab Said.
Moving on, the government has called upon those in possession of illegal firearms in Baringo County to take advantage of the 1-month amnesty and surrender the weapons. This comes in the wake of intensified security operations in Tiati that has seen all entry points manned by roadblocks.
Speaking in Kabarunet in Baringo County during a sensitization program that brought together the county security, Baringo County Commissioner Abdi Rizak Jaldesa noted that 32 firearms have been surrendered in the Kerio Belt.
Tutaendelea kuhimiza watu warudishe hizo silaha kupitia wale viongozi wengine mashirika ya dini, mashirika zingine zote, they are very supportive ili watu warudishe silaha kwa hiari. Kwa hivyo
the ongoing security operation in the area has however led to religious leaders and Pokot Council elders calling for it to be conducted in a humane manner, alleging roadblocks are preventing the entry of supplies into the area.
Kuna chakula inaingia huko. Hii sasa imeaffect hata walimu hawapati chakula. Mpaka sasa watoto, madaktari na watu wote hata wafanyabiashara.
The commissioner however said that a special pass will be issued to school buses and vehicles ferrying food. Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
And a women lobby group known as Amkeni Coast Movement has come to the defense of former Malindi MP Aisha Jumwa over claims that she is unfit to hold office. The group has alleged that the claims leveled against the former lawmaker are unsubstantiated.
Farida Rashid and the Amkeni Coast Movement want Aisha Jumwa's detractors to cut her some slack.
Tunawaambia kwa sauti moja, wafanye heshima na Aisha Juma na watu wa pwani wote kwa jumla. Sisi watu wa pwani tuna heshima, tuna nidhamu, tunajua kukaribisha watu, ni wakarimu sana.
Farida says vitriol directed that Juma is politically motivated and cannot be used to challenge her suitability for cabinet.
Alozaliwa Mbara pwani ni mpwani na ana sauti pia ya kuzungumza kama mpwani. Menisikiza? Hatubagui wala hatuchagui. Hatuna dini sisi watu wa pwani. Dini yetu sote ni moja, tunajua Mungu yuko, kila moja afuate dini yake.
The group expressed confidence that all legal challenges facing the former lawmaker will be thrown out.
Tunamsifu rais wetu kwa kutekea Aisha Juma. Na tunamsifu rais wetu kwa uchaguzi wake wa kuchagua. Na tunamwambia, tunamuomba na tuna haki ya kuomba. Sisi ni tulimpigia kura na sisi ndio watu wa pwani wa Mombasa zaidi tulitoa kura zetu nyingi kwa president. Kwa hivyo na kuomba rais wangu, usitusahau sisi kina mama wa Mombasa hapa chini mashinani, na usimsahau yule utakayetuwekea sisi atusimamie hapa Mombasa town.
Juma is among those awaiting parliamentary approval to join the cabinet. Juma was nominated by the president to serve as the public service cabinet secretary.
Away from that, Kericho County Governor Eric Mutai says over 40,000 workers have lost their jobs in Kericho and Bomet counties in the last 5 years, following the introduction of the tea plucking machines. The governor is appealing to farmers to agree to a dialogue on how to find a win-win solution and avoid further loss of jobs. He condemned the banning of the machines but accused farmers of making decisions without roping in the affected farm workers.
Those were contentious issues that we are having, and that's why you see groups of youth spoiling with anger, because remember, we have a huge population of unemployed youth. We have businesses that are closing down, and these people are saying you have all these farms and it's not benefiting us. Of course, we have also encouraged the youth never to take the law to their hands, but allow due processes to take place. And we promise the people of Kericho within the next figuring around a month or so, would be able to get a lasting solution and get this tea estate employ people and work on our revenue so that we also benefit from that particular tea estate.
And some 130 girls rescued from marriage and female genital mutilation in Kajiado County have been equipped with various life skills to enable them shape their future. The girls who received basic education on ICT, economy and leadership have expressed optimism that they will manage to fulfill their dreams. Meanwhile, girl child rights advocates in Kakamega have opted to engage the boy child in reproductive health education in the fight against early pregnancies among teens.
It is here at the rescue center in Loitoktok, Kajiado South, that this group of 130 girls got a new lease of life. They are lucky to have escaped the trap of retrogressive culture that has seen dreams go down the drain.
Nimeokolewa kutoka kwa uozaji wa mapema. Nilikuwa niozwe kwa mzee wa miaka 55, lakini sasa hivi nimekuja hapa Nice Place Foundation. Ndoto yangu naweza kusema nataka kuwa nini sasa hivi.
Ninafurahia sana kuwa mahali hapa Nice Place Foundation. Ni siku yangu kuu na kugraduate, uongozi na mambo ya kompyuta. Ninafurahia sana kwa sababu nilipomaliza kidato cha 4, maisha yalikuwa ngumu. Nilikuwa hata karibu kuoleka.
Nice Nailante, a victim of early marriage and founder of the rescue center, says her dream is to see young girls achieve their full potential.
Nataka wasichana wetu kama ni walimu na wao.
Parents say the project could not have come at a better time.
Maana tumekuja tumefaidika sababu ya hii shule. Zamani hatukuwa na shule ya wasichana. Msichana akikua kidogo analengetwa, anaoswa. Sasa ikawa wasichana hatukuwa na faida yoyote.
Efforts have been launched by girl child rights advocates in Kakamega through a program that seeks to curb teen pregnancies.
Leo tumeweza kukuambia mtoto mvulana si lazima akuwe na uhusiano na msichana wa kimapenzi, ni kumsaidia ili awe pia yeye chief justice na waishi vizuri. Kwa hivyo tumeanza kuleta mtoto wa kiume karibu sana.
Speaking during a sensitization campaign in Ikolomani, the women rights champions, however, called on the government to open up more opportunities for women employment. This year's International Girl Child Day was used to give voice to ongoing campaigns to create safe spaces for girls. With the support of the Nairobi City County Government Gender-Based Unit, the Girl Rising Organization marked this day by celebrating their facilitators.
We use a curriculum-based approach to implement life skills curriculum with girls, adolescent girls and boys in communities to empower them with critical skills.
I have learned a lot and identified an issue on teenage pregnancy, and this helped me to come up with a project that will help me in my community.
Kamche Menza for Lunchtime News.
All right, and the Law Society of Kenya is today holding a press briefing at Gatanga Road at their offices, and currently speaking is LSK President Eric Theuri. Let's take a listen.
We similarly call on the judiciary and especially the magistrates handling the cases to insist on the DPP providing credible and cogent reasons before allowing the discontinuation of the charges. This is to assert the independence of the judiciary and prevent the courts from being an arena for settling scores and abuse of judicial time and resources. We've also similarly noted a disturbing trend at the Public Service Commission, which under Article 232 of the Constitution is required to ensure transparency and provision to the public of timely, accurate information, as well as ensure fair competition and merit as the basic principle of appointments. The Law Society notes that the Commission recently shortlisted about 477 candidates for the position of permanent secretaries, and without any credible explanation, expanded the list by another 108 candidates in a manner that speaks to taking instructions from other quarters and renders the ongoing interview a sham and a public relations exercise. The Law Society has also noted with concern comments and deliberations made by the Deputy President that evictions shall only be enforced after clearance by the sub-county security committees. This amounts to subjecting court decisions to the whims of the security committees and renders court adjudicative processes ineffective. Ultimately, this will encourage a culture of land grabbing and impunity and is a serious threat to the rule of law. The laws of the country have adequate provisions on how evictions are to be carried out. The courts have also delivered several decisions on the manner of carrying out evictions. The roadside declarations by the Deputy President cannot therefore substitute the law, and we urge the Deputy President to withdraw his remarks and uphold the rule of law and the Constitution, which he took an oath to protect. The Law Society also wishes to point out to members of the public that the courts have stayed the establishment of the office of the Chief Administrative Secretary. Therefore, unless the court orders are vacated, both the government and the public should refrain from participating in any actions in breach of the court order. We remind the public that in giving ourselves the Constitution, we resolved to have the rule of law and fidelity to the Constitution as our constant true north. We therefore must protect and uphold our Constitution at all costs, otherwise we invite anarchy and chaos. Ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of our statement. We can take any questions.
The LSK President Eric Theuri speaking there at the press briefing that the Law Society of Kenya has been holding, and it has just been concluded. He's of course emphasizing on the need to respect and uphold the rule of law and the Kenyan Constitution in all the actions that are taken by the current government. We cross over from Nairobi now, going into Kakamega County, where Wycliffe Okech is our reporter. He's on standby to give us a live update. The county is today marking the International Day of Disaster Risk Reduction at the Buhungu Stadium. Wycliffe, good afternoon. If you can hear me, kindly update us.
I can hear you pretty well, Nissie, man, and very good afternoon to you. Back in Nairobi, we are, of course, coming to you live from Buhungu Stadium here in Kakamega County, where this is the host. Kakamega County today played the host to the national celebration or of the marking of the International Day for Risk or the Disaster Risk Reduction. 13th of October every year is the designated day that is set aside by the United Nations General Assembly to enumerate, or rather for stakeholders to enumerate and appreciate the efforts, or rather the measures being put in place by different stakeholders in ways to avert disasters and communicate early disaster warning to the various nationals. And such communication has been very prevalent today in the speeches that have been already delivered in an event that is just concluded. Like you can see from the background here, everyone is now just going their way. The event is over. The event kick-started about just slightly after 12. That is after midday, and the host governor, who was supposed to be the guest of honor for this event here, that is Governor Fernandez Barasa, did not make his way here, but then he was represented by KBC Public Service and Administration Rachel Okumu. That is just among other guests who graced this occasion, and also, of course, various stakeholders from various stakeholders, that is a representative from the UN who actually delivered the speech from the UN Director General, or the General Secretary General, that is Antonio Guterres, whose speech was read by the representative for the UN, that is Evelyn Koech. And just from the various speeches that were delivered here, the one rallying call that is actually manifested is the early communication of disaster risks to the nationals here, and that is in line with this year's theme, which is, I don't know if you can be able to see that banner behind me here, that is early communication and early action for all. If I break that down to you, it means that national government and all the stakeholders that are associated or rather mandated to conduct research and communicate related disaster management information to nationals, that it is within their mandate to research and communicate disaster risk management communication or other information to everybody, so that by that such can be averted before they happen. You do realize that in Kenya, actually, most disasters are hydro-meteorological related, talk of mudslides, talk of floods and all that. So that now those are some of the rallying call in today's celebration of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. And one significant issue that came out from the Secretary General for the UN, who was represented by Evelyn Koech, is call for countries actually to invest in systems for early communication and early action, and also for the countries that have the capacity to support those that do not have one. And that I mean by that countries that are not do not have probably the finances and the technical know-how to invest in early communication insofar disaster management is concerned, so that they can support those countries that do not have similar systems. Well, that has been the it from this end. You do realize, like if I can mention, you see this day was preceded by a 2-day symposium that took place at the Masinde Muliro University here in Kakamega, with just that information being driven into the stakeholders, so that there is need for them actually to invest in early communication. While that is the glimpse of what has been happening all through, and a comprehensive coverage of the event of the day will come to our viewers in our subsequent bulletin. I'm talking about the 7 p.m. bulletin and the 9 p.m. bulletin. But now, Nissie, let me just hand it back to you so that you can continue updating us on the stories making headlines from across other regions. Yes.
Thank you very much, Wycliffe Okech. As he has rightfully put it, a lot more will be coming to you in our subsequent bulletins. But just 2 days ago, they had a 2-day symposium at the Masinde Muliro University in preparation for this particular event, and that's the International Day for Disaster and Risk Reduction. Moving on from that, imagine going to the mortuary to collect the remains of your 81-year-old loved one, only for the mortuary to present you with the body of a much younger woman to bury. That was the predicament of a family in Embu East Sub-County, whose plans to give their grandmother a decent send-off were put on hold because her body had been released to a different family. Beatrice Gatonyengetich with details of their despair.
Son to the deceased, Linus Njige, said the mortuary attendants told them that his mother's body could have been picked in a mix-up on Wednesday, but he wondered how that could have happened when their mother was elderly with grey hair, while the body presented to them was of a young woman.
Leo ilikuwa siku ya mashishi ya mamangu, na kitu imetusangaza sana ni wakati tulienda mortuary tukakuta ule tunaendea mamangu huko mortuary, tukasangaa sana.
Njagi says the mortuary attendants explained that the granny's body could have been picked by a family from Rugusa village about 5 kilometers from their home.
Ile tuliona ni iko na tofauti, hata manjina. Huyo anaitwa mother na mama yangu anaitwa Lydia Mbembe. Sasa tukashindwa kwani watu wangu mwili na manjina ama namna gani, ndio walitoa na wakapewa wengine, tukiingia tunaambiwa stories zingine.
He said the family, relatives and friends who had traveled from as far as Nairobi and Nyeri were left confused by incident. Embu East Deputy County Commissioner Jen Warwingi said family members reported the matter at the Runyenjes police station, where they were advised to seek a court order to exhume a body believed to be that of their granny.
Ningependa kuhamasisha public ya kwamba wakati wanaenda kuchukua mwili wao waweze kutazama kwanza, ili wahakikishe kwamba ni mwili ambao wanastahili kuzika, na pia kwa management ya hospitali ama ya mortuary wawe waangalifu ili kusitokee confusion kama hii.
She said the issue has to follow the court process to ensure the right person is handed over to the right family. The family spokesperson Daniel Nyaga said the mortuary management had agreed to cater for the costs. Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Lunchtime News.
A very unfortunate turn of events there brings us to a very fast break on Lunchtime News, but we'll be back with more. Do stay with us.
Are you a holder of unclaimed financial assets? Take advantage of the Finance Act 2022 moratorium on penalties and interests. Surrender any unclaimed financial assets in your possession today. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
With my family seated, can I listen to that music? With my father, with my mother seated together, can we listen to that music together?
Just remove your father from the equation. Kila mtu akae kando. We listen to Zuchu. Everybody, when you go to TikTok, a 13-year-old is saying, what is it called?
Sukari.
Yeah, not even Sukari. This song about Nyumba Ndogo.
Is it music supposed to be food for the heart?
Okay, I'm not too sure about that.
Is co-parenting working? Is it a fad? Is it something that we're just glorifying?
I am not your enemy. You're not my enemy. We just need to live separately so that I can raise this child together. You see, it doesn't have to be toxic for you to...
So what's that? It's conscious uncoupling? So do you think you would work with Otile Brown again if things were different right now?
At KBC Channel 1, we put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now, a section of the clergy in Kakamega County says sufficient research needs to be done on GMO to clarify its effects now and in the near future before it is embraced by Kenyans. Led by Catholic Diocese of Kakamega, Diocese Bishop Joseph Obanyi, the clerics say researchers should work hand in hand with the government. He also urged the government to ensure that no one succumbs due to drought by putting in place proper strategies to cushion the affected areas.
Lazima utafiti uweze kufanywa na uhakikisho ya kwamba hakuna madhara baadaye. Unajua kwa sasa inaweza kuonekana ya kwamba ndio tunapata mazao, tunaweza kupata chakula, lakini ikiwa kuna utafiti wa kutosha wa kuhakikisha ya kwamba katika miaka ijayo, kwa mfano, hizi mbegu ambazo za GMO zinapandwa, zinaweza kuzaa matunda mema sasa, lakini baada ya miaka 5 pengine huo udongo sio mzuri, pengine umeathirika na haya mambo ya kisayansi ambayo yametengenezwa. So tungependa ya kwamba watafiti, wanasayansi, wataalamu wa mambo ya kilimo waweze kushirikiana pamoja na hiyo serikali kabla ya kuzindua haya mambo ya GMO na kuona ya kwamba hatutakuwa na madhara ya baadaye ambayo hakuna mtu atatusaidia. Serikali mpya ambayo imechaguliwa ina kibarua, ina kazi ya kuona ya kwamba hakuna Mkenya anakufa, kazi ya kuona ya kwamba kuna mikakati na wekwa ya kutosha kabambe ya kuwasaidia hawa Wakenya wasije wakangamia.
All right, let's take a look at the day's business now. The National Cereals and Produce Board is inviting bids from manufacturers and distributors to supply the subsidized top-dressing fertilizer to farmers. The board's managing director, Joseph Kimote, says the top-dressing fertilizer will also be distributed to tea and coffee farmers who are not affiliated to the Kenya Tea Development Agency and new KPCU.
The National Cereals and Produce Board says it has so far distributed 307,200,000 50 kg bags of fertilizer out of the 426,000 50 kg bag of subsidized DAP fertilizer under the subsidy program. The subsidized DAP fertilizer is part of the total 1.4 million bags of assorted fertilizer that was released by the government under the 3.5 billion shilling subsidy program. The government now is inviting manufacturers and distributors to tender to supply both soil and crop-specific fertilizer blends for planting and top dressing under the subsidy program. Registered tea and coffee farmers who are not covered under the Kenya Tea Development Agency and the new KPCU distribution frameworks will also be supplied with the fertilizer. This comes just days after the government announced that it was creating modalities to subsidize more fertilizer. The latest fertilizer subsidy is aimed at supporting the cropping of 1.4 million acres of land during the short rains. This is the second subsidy program this year after the National Treasury released 5.7 billion shillings early this year to reduce the cost of fertilizer that had increased to 7,000 shillings per 50 kg bag in some areas. The National Cereals and Produce Board says it is keen on keeping fertilizer prices at 3,500 shillings per bag to help reduce the overall cost of agriculture production.
Moving on, digital advertising is a new frontier in the media and entertainment industry, according to the latest entertainment and media industry report by PricewaterhouseCoopers. The report shows that internet advertising revenue has surpassed TV advertising revenue for the first time, a trend seen across Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria. This is attributed to consumers and advertisers prioritizing digital as business models shift to meet consumers where they spend most of their time and money.
The entertainment and media industry is becoming more digital, more mobile, more pitched to attract the young, more evenly distributed around the globe, and more dependent on advertising in all its forms. Businesses and companies are now moving away from traditional advertising to internet advertising, according to a report by PricewaterhouseCoopers on the entertainment media industry. The report says consumers and advertisers are prioritizing digital, a trend that is expected to cut across Kenya, South Africa and Nigeria, where the segment is projected to account for 79.7% of the industry's total revenue by the year 2026. The PricewaterhouseCoopers latest outlook shows that within a 3-year period, Kenya witnessed continued growth, with entertainment and media revenue reaching an annual revenue growth of 12.6% in 2021. The report indicates that the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated changes in consumer behavior and digital adoption in ways that will affect future growth trajectories. The growth is also attributed to the high internet connectivity in the 3 countries. Industries that were more severely impacted in 2020, such as cinemas, live music, and B2B trade shows, made strong comebacks, although revenues remained below pre-pandemic levels. Segments such as video games and OTT streaming TV and video rose to new highs after thriving under lockdown conditions, while other sectors proved to be large pandemic-proof, with podcast advertising, albeit off a low base. Some formerly niche sectors, such as gaming, will barrel their way into prominence, as others formerly dominant sectors, such as the traditional TV, newspapers, and consumer magazines, are at risk of seeing their positions erode. Caroline Jenga for Lunchtime News.
And players in transportation sector are looking into innovative ways of making taxi hailing work in a win-win situation for both customers and investors. This has prompted them to create a Kenyan taxi app company, KTNX, that will look into lowering the commissions offered to companies so as to ensure drivers earn decently without affecting rates charged to consumers.
The commission charged by ride-hailing apps on drivers is currently capped at 18% to protect thousands of workers inconvenienced by high fees. According to new rules published by the Kenyan Transport and Infrastructure, the cap also applies to the commissions paid by the owners of vehicles registered to various digital taxi companies. However, penetrating the market has been difficult for new companies due to the dominance by multinational companies. This has been a big setback and a challenge blamed on low investment into the sector, with some taxi drivers opting back to the analog way of operation. A new app company known as KTNX has been launched and is promising to offer commissions of about 7% to drivers.
We are pushing for these regulations to be effected so that it can put a level playing field for any new company to come up and operate.
Nataka players wengi wa hii industry. One of the reasons why we are suffering is because some apps are dominating so much. So tunawaambia karibu na mkuje na commission ambayo iko chini, kwa sababu hapo ni mahali ambapo tunaumia sana.
Wycliffe Alutalala, the chairman of Rideshare Sacco, blamed the issues being experienced by taxi operators to dominance by some app companies.
It is very difficult for a new company to come into existence. We have had several companies coming up, but because of the unfairness and because of the dominance, especially by the leading app companies, it has been very difficult for any new company to come into the market.
The Kenyan taxi app company KTNX is also banking on benefits such as freedom to choose the gender of the driver to drive up its uptake. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Meanwhile, Kenya has become the first country in Africa to adopt industrial-scale solar power use, which promises to reduce manufacturing electricity costs by 40%. The new solar paneling technology has the capacity to provide at least 4 megawatts of electricity for use and would give uninterrupted power for 12 hours. Devki Group Executive Chair Narendra Raval says high electricity costs are driving manufacturers into losses, and renewable energy is the only long-term solution.
In an industry with roaring machines and moving cogs lies a silent master, energy. So what are industries doing in order to harness this commodity? At this industry in Ruiru, power is indispensable, with a capacity to generate at least 250 tons of metal products per night.
translating to 25 megawatts of power monthly. Before installation of the solar panels on its roof, the industry relied solely on the national grid, a need that the manufacturer says was unsustainable.
We want to expand the solar to 20 megawatts to our other factories also. We are also putting up the wind power project of 64 megawatt in Mombasa, which is the largest commercially put anybody on this continent, so that after that we will be 95% or maybe 100% green company of steel in the world.
If there is a roof, don't let it lie idle. That's called a lazy roof or worse, a dumb roof. Put solar. Let it generate energy. When your roof generates energy, your real estate gains value.
They have now lined the roofs of this factory with solar panels, a decision that will alternate 17% of their daily power use with solar, translating to an overall save of 20 million shillings monthly.
Been very, very encouraged that we have started somewhere to save our globe, to save our environment, and also to save the cost of the production.
He says the move would allow for greater efficiency, business continuity during power outages, and major cost savings.
We want to be the head of the continent to set an example that we can do it without having the energy used from the grid or also from any other source, which is generator, fuel, coal, which is we have to try and see how we can come out of it.
And Kenya has got a beautiful positioning to capture and harvest that energy from the sun. But so is every company, so is every school, so is every building in Kenya. Everyone is encouraged to deploy energy on top of their roofs.
Distributed Power Africa believes many industries in Kenya are wasting roof space that could reduce operational costs in the long run through installation of solar panels that would offer affordable and efficient green energy. They say the industries are on the lookout for energy solutions, and Kenya provides a robust ground for green energy.
Energy crises are going to be there, and it is going to go always day by day higher and higher. That will give higher cost of the production, and it will the goods will be more and more expensive. While we going green by solar and by wind power.
With the ongoing energy crisis, industries must come up with solutions, and going green seems to be the way. Ibak Said for KBC.
Away from that, local manufacturers have been challenged to make innovative products that utilize technologies such as the Internet of Things if they are to fully take advantage of the next frontier in manufacturing. Industrialization and Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina says Kenyan manufacturers have an opportunity to meet undeserved markets locally and abroad, riding on strides made in policy.
Business management software provider Syspro notes that the COVID-19 pandemic underlined the importance of technology in manufacturing operations, underscoring the need for digital renovation. Now, to supplement the local manufacturing sector, the government says policies have been tailored to the new age manufacturing.
We have seen some nascent development of IT and electronic manufacturing, but I think this is an area that we really need to go into. Your partnership as manufacturers and as service providers is what will drive this economy.
However, players say that for this to happen, more can be done in awareness and policy, not only to stimulate innovation in local manufacturing, but also increase brand awareness and appetite for locally made brands.
The policy environment and the policy toolbox, may I call it that way, is actually full. The only thing that we need to do, where the policy at the national level and international level is there are still a lot of bottlenecks that we'll need to deal with to be able to facilitate export, right? The export levels, the efficiency. We need to be globally competitive.
You're all aware of all the different policies government has put in place to support local manufacturing, whether it's the local procurement rules, whether it is Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. But it's one thing to create markets and not have products that occupy those markets. So
Speaking at the launch of the 5th edition of the Changamka Shopping Festival to be held in Nairobi and Kisumu early next month, manufacturers have stressed the need for building capacity for value addition to feed local and international consumption.
There is a lot of value addition which can happen here, and I gave an example of tea, where 97% of our tea is exported in the raw form as black tea. We probably achieve $2.50 a kilo for that tea. On the other hand, if we actually packaged and put it as a product value add ready for the shelf out in the other in the countries which are actually importing, we could achieve $7. So you can see the value which we are leaving behind or exporting out.
The Changamka Shopping Festival is expected to increase visibility for locally made goods. The issue of locally made brands being accessible to everyone, to the local consumer, is a dicey one, but players now say that they are working with retailers to make sure that the product is not only available in large retail stores. Alanauko, Lunchtime News.
And elsewhere, farmers intending to produce for the export market have been encouraged to familiarize themselves with international standards. The Market Access Upgrade Program Kenya National Project Coordinator Maina Karuru says there is need to train farmers on standards to ensure Kenyan export meet the quality standards in the international market.
As the world marks the Standards Day, players in the horticulture value chain want farmers to be trained on international standards to ensure only quality produce is exported. This is expected to ensure Kenyan produce attracts premium prices and retains traditional international markets.
Most of the standards that are there, especially for agribusiness value chains, they are geared towards ensuring we produce safe food, quality food, and also we protect our environment, including water and soil, through what we call good agricultural practices.
To ensure compliance, the Horticulture Directorate is urging farmers to adhere to the KS 1758 standards that, among other things, ensures best international practice are upheld from production to consumption.
The Kenya Standard 1758, which is heavily benchmarked on the global gap, then it ensures that we have food production systems that do not leave any traces of residues in the food that we eat, and that is by and large to say the food that we consume will be safe.
Kenya Bureau of Standards has so far published 10,500 standards that are key in protecting consumers and enhancing trade both domestically and internationally.
When these standards are developed, then we call upon the regulators to make sure that there is uptake, that there is implementation of the standards, so that we can make our world a better place.
Farmers should actually be sensitized on the importance of good agricultural practices, because what happens when you implement the good agricultural practices, you are able to increase yields, you are able to safeguard the environment, you are able to safeguard the people that work in the farms, and you are able to actually increase incomes through increased yields.
Market Access Upgrade Program Kenya says it has so far trained 1,500 farmers from 9 counties on food safety standards. Benson Roba reporting for Lunchtime News.
Microsoft and Liquid Cloud have partnered to offer comprehensive and age-based cloud capabilities that meet customer regulatory requirements. The venture will allow for infrastructure expansion that is set to accelerate digital transformation and adoption of digital technologies in the African continent. Here are the details of this and more in our corporate briefs.
Through its Africa Transformation Office, Microsoft aims to deliver resilient cloud services in Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Rwanda, Tanzania, Zambia and Zimbabwe through the pact with Liquid Cloud. The two firms also aim to meet the regulatory and data residency requirements, address latency workloads, strengthen resilience, and enable business continuity in the 7 countries. Stakeholders noted that the hybrid cloud environment will expand Azure capabilities to enable customers to create cloud-native applications faster. They have pledged to ensure that existing solutions available for customers are redefined and improved in order to deliver world-class products across connectivity, cybersecurity, voice and managed services. Meanwhile, the Open Institute and Sustainable Development Goals Kenya Forum have called for collaborative efforts between counties and the civil society in order to achieve the country's sustainable development goals. This, they say, will allow for better reforms within counties that seek to aid in achieving their development objectives.
I therefore encourage the stakeholders and partners present here today to improve financial landscaping by coming up and actualizing county integrated financial frameworks.
What we want to do in this new term is to really continue transformation. We want to do more in the spaces that we have realized are going to put more money into the pockets of our people.
I know citizens are able to actually own this development work, not only by the county government, because even all of you are players, you're also investing in these communities. The national government is investing. So ultimately, the question is, who is left to be the custodian of this development work?
Finally, the Kenya Tourism Board chairperson Joanne Mwangi Yelbert has called on Africa's tourism boards and stakeholders in private and public sectors to create synergies that can promote intra-African travel. This, she says, will enable the sector transform due to its climatic advantages and boost revenue earnings. Additionally, she is calling for better marketing strategies that will map out African countries for investments and allow for strategic ventures meant to spur growth within the continent. Ndutamo Kami for Lunchtime News.
All right, let's take a look at the day's sports. Now, defending champion Serbia advanced to the final of the FIVB Women's Volleyball World Championship after humbling Olympic champions USA by 3-1 in the last 4. Serbia won by sets of 25-21, 25-20, 17-25 and 25-23 to secure the victory. This will be the second time the Southern European nation will play in a World Championship final after winning the first 4 years in Japan. Serbia leads on the log with 26 points ahead of the USA with 6 points. Serbia is in Pool F alongside the USA, Poland, Canada, Turkey, Dominican Republic, Thailand and Germany.
If it didn't exist on the Serbian team, I think we'd have a very different game on our hands.
Olorantes gets a good dig. Here's Struze, picked up by Milenkovic. US.
And Mohamed Salah came off the bench to score an incredible 6-minute hat-trick as Liverpool obliterated Rangers 7-1 in the UEFA Champions League. Meanwhile, Manchester United will be without forward Anthony Martial for the Europa League game against Omonia Nicosia.
Elliott assured Liverpool 7-1 win over Rangers at Ibrox Stadium.
And it's an own goal, is it? Or was it Firmino?
Game at the Nou Camp.
Gone all the way through, and there's no. It hits Bastoni. That's not a clever run from